hello everyone and welcome to Design System London 9. For those of you who haven't been before, great to see you. And for those who have been before, great to see you again and welcome back. So who am I? My name is Luis and I'm the head of product at design. I'm head of product design at WCAG. I don't even know who I am. So Design System London is a community-driven design system community. We started because people were starting to talk a lot about design system and a lot of people didn't know exactly what it was. And we wanted to give an opportunity for the community to share their knowledge. We welcome speakers of all experience levels. So if there's anyone here who feel like they want to join in and become a speaker, by all means do so. We do have a form for you to fill out, which you will see soon in the QR code. Let's see this evening's agenda. We are already at the intros. We have 3 talks today: fostering adoption, getting started with iOS accessibility. Then we're going to take a quick break for some more pizza and wine. And then we have introducing WCAG 2.2 guidance to the gov.uk design system, which is a very long title, but it's a very good talk. And then after that, we're going to assemble all the speakers and we're going to have a Q&A. And after the wrap-up, we will have a social mixer at the conductor, which happens to be literally downstairs. So you just need to jump into the lift, get downstairs, and go outside. And there it is. Okay, so if you... actually, before we do the QR code, we're going to go through a couple of logistics. We're going to start off with the code of conduct. We want to make sure that we keep our language clean, and that we are being kind to each other, and that we don't share any inappropriate stuff. Pretty straightforward stuff. Need to mention social media as well. If you are on X or Twitter, whatever you prefer to call it, so are we, at DSLConf or at WCAG.io. You can also find us on LinkedIn, where you can follow us and you can see that latest updates and events, etc. Most of you have probably seen us on Meetup, and you should have all seen us on Eventbrite as well, because that's how you managed to get here. We also have our hashtags, of course. If you are sharing anything or when you are sharing something, please use hashtag DSL or hashtag Design Systems, or my favorite one, hashtag Design System London. It's short and snappy and suitable for Twitter or X. Okay, so now, as I said, the QR code, one QR code to rule them all. On this QR code, you can ask questions to the speakers, you can follow us, and you can also, as I said before, become a speaker on any future DSL event. And you can see all the openings of WCAG. So I'm going to leave this up here for a second for all of you to take it. Yeah, there we go. Looks like everyone's got that. Fantastic. In that case, let's move on. And we are going to move into a few words from our sponsors. So as you can see, we have 2 sponsors here today. We have WCAG, which is the organizers behind this community. And we are here in this fantastic building today with justeattakeaway.com. Hence why we were here. So thank you so much to them for that. Before we kick off with the speakers, we are going to just have a few quick words. And I want to start by introducing my colleague, James from WCAG, who's going to tell us a little bit about openings and the work that WCAG does. Thank you so much.
I'm a product designer at WCAG, and before we get to the talks, I'm just here to share with you some information about WCAG, who we are as a company. So WCAG is a tech consultancy, and we have offices in London, Lisbon, and Porto. We focus on helping clients build and improve their products by offering supportive expertise in software engineering, product design, and data science. And we work with a diverse range of companies globally across various industries, including publishing, healthcare, fintech, renewable energy. It goes on the list. Our goal is to help clients by leaving them in a much better place than when we started. And we do this by sharing our expert knowledge and equipping our clients with future-proof skills and capabilities. One of the most recent and relevant clients we worked with, specifically around design systems, was with a financial company called NewDay. So WCAG partnered with NewDay to establish the foundations of a multi-brand design system and to create a framework from which NewDay could easily expand upon in the future. The NewDay design system had to have the capacity to handle more than 15 different themes, so it had to be built on foundations that were versatile enough for each theme's unique identities to be communicated. But it also had to have a shared structure and taxonomy that would allow for different teams and departments within NewDay to actually collaborate with one another. So to achieve this, Wildy set about creating a set of global foundations that unified the approach to things like accessibility, color, typography, all that good stuff. And then through workshops, kind of earmarked which parameters themes could then adjust accordingly. And all this was accompanied by the usual design system deliverables, so things like robust components, accompanying documentation that detailed the component's purpose, interactive considerations, usage guidelines, and accessibility requirements. And the outcome of this ultimately led to New Day being able to actually reduce the number of active component libraries they had. So they previously had 25. That was scaled down to just 3. And also it meant that the components within those component libraries were also massively reduced. So for example, the button component, there were 23 instances of this previously, and that was brought down to 1 per platform. And ultimately, the time that it actually took to apply one of the 15 different themes took ultimately less than a second using the Token Studio plugin. So that's it from me and a quick overview about Wildy. If you've got any questions, obviously feel free to chat with either me, Luis, or anybody with a Wildy t-shirt on. Thank you and enjoy the talks.
Thank you very much for that, James. So as you can already see here, we are now going to move over to our second sponsor, and I want to welcome Ellis.
Hello everyone, I'm Ellis. I'm a senior PM at justeattakeaway.com, or JET as we are sometimes also called. So we're the second time sponsoring this event now. So we did it last March, which is quite exciting, up in the 6th floor. So who is justeattakeaway.com? What do we do? We are a leading global online delivery marketplace. So we work in over 20 countries. We have 699,000 connected partners being restaurants, grocery stores, and the like. We have over 84 million active customers meaning customers that actually return and use the platform, which is pretty impressive. And then we have over 13,000 employees as well from over 100 different nationalities, around 20 offices. So this is one of 2 offices in the UK. We've got one in Bristol as well, which is a tech office, which is quite cool. Yeah, so our JET vision, strategy and values. So our vision is empowering your every food moment. Our strategy is a world-class food ordering and payment solution. We also have a fintech part of our business handling like our own credit card system where companies can sign up for their employees to have their own food card. They can go and buy McDonald's or beers with it. The best product, restaurant choice and customer care. So we don't just sell to customers, we also sell our services to partners as well. And obviously we have a customer service team and a brand that people absolutely love. So, you know, we've evidently worked very hard on our branding over the years. And I think the orange is kind of synonymous with Just Eat Takeaway now, as well as now the purples, yellows, blues and greens and all sorts. And our values are lead, deliver, care. So our communities, we don't just build all these restaurant customer products or fintech or logistic products. We also have some fantastic communities here as well. I've been here for nearly 2 years now, and I've gotten involved with these communities as well. So we have the BAME network, the BIPOC network, the neurodiversity community, chaired by our senior tech manager, Sam Allen. We have the women in tech community as well. We have the LGBTQ plus community, parents and carers, and you know, not to sell it too much, it's a very, very welcoming and open place to work. So I think look for people with the orange, yellow lanyards on and ask them if I'm telling the truth afterwards. Yeah, that is going to be it from the sponsor from JET. We do, again, have a careers website. We are obviously always on the lookout for good talent. Scan the QR codes outside and you can see, you know, what's going on, and you can keep up to date with us via emails and our socials. We have a couple of talent acquisition people in the house. We have Carlos and we have Vicky, so they'll make themselves known afterwards. But yeah, enjoy the meetup, some really cool talks. And back over to Luis.
Okay, can you hear me? Anyone who can't hear me okay? Yes, you can all hear me. Just because I'm loud, so it's all good. Sometimes that's a good thing. Okay, so thank you. Yeah, right. Perfect timing. Now let's just recap. Oh, hello, he's back. Now, some of you didn't even notice I wasn't on a microphone. That means I am very loud. I'll take that. So let's recap on this fantastic QR code, giving you a second chance to see that before we crack on. Fostering adoption is our first talk. I'm gonna see if I can mix this up a little bit. I'm probably gonna mess this up, so apologies in advance. So we got fostering adoption. After that, we got getting started with iOS accessibility. And then, as I said, we're gonna have a quick break. And then the third talk is introducing WCAG 2.2 guidance to the gov.uk design system. It's a long title, but it's a great talk. So we're going to go back to, I didn't mess that up too badly. So we're going to start off with fostering adoption, and we got Manuela is going to talk to us about that. First, I'm going to present a fun fact about her, actually. It's a short, but for a brief moment in her life, Madonna was her neighbor. I'm of that age where I'm very impressed by that. And I would have loved to have Madonna as my neighbor. I'm not sure Madonna would have liked if I had been her neighbor, but Manuela, I'm very jealous of that. So good for you. Oh, I am a bit jealous of that, genuinely. I don't know where she is. There she is. It's like, oh, don't worry. Come inside. There is a space at the back and there's space at the front. Find somewhere and take a seat. Manuela, stage is all yours.
So I'm going to talk about fostering adoption and strategy to achieve success on design system. Little about myself. I'm Manuela Costa. I'm a product designer and a design system consultant for many years now. Right now I'm doing a consultancy for Esri, which is a US-based GIS mapping company. I have worked with companies such as Toyota, Gene-Shark, Kanamani, and many others. I help them with small pieces on the design system, like documentation, design tokens, or like building a design system from scratch. So let's dig into the importance of the design system adoption. We know that with the design system adoption, we can have like consistent user experience, we can increase efficiency, we can increase scalability and adaptability. I'm sorry, this word's so hard, but it's right there. Innovation and collaboration. But there's more, like adoption, it's important for us as having users for product. So we battle so much to get a better user experience, to gather more and more users, and we should do that to our design system as well. Without adoption, the design system becomes obsolete. So first step to promote adoption is to know what is the foundational knowledge for design system. We need to provide a comprehensive overview of the design system purpose, principles, and components to ensure that everyone is on the same page. Everyone in the company needs to understand that. We need to introduce the design system documentation, including guidelines, patterns, and tools. Another good strategy is to incorporate a practical and interactive exercise to enforce the learning and build a confidence in applying the design system. We are going to talk a lot about training today. So comprehensive training is crucial for design system adoption. It empowers teams to fully leverage the design system capabilities, ensures consistent implementation. Crafting an effective design system training curriculum requires a strategic approach. You start by assessing the various skill levels, the preference of your team. We know that each team has like juniors and midterm and senior developers and designers. So we need to leverage all these skills. Developing a design system training curriculum that caters the both beginning and advanced users. This will ensure that everyone can leverage from the design system. more about training here. So designing workshop, especially tailored to roles and skill sets of the audience, is crucial. It's really good because we can do this tailoring in the workshop, so it gets really stuck to that individual. This ensures that the training is directly applicable and valuable to every individual involved in the design system adoption process. We need to establish continuous learning paths that enables design systems users to stay in tune to the latest updates and enhancements. It fosters a culture of consistent improvement and encourage long-term investment in the design system. Another thing is hands-on sessions that provide practical experience and enable participants to apply their learning directly. This approach solidifies their understanding and help them in the retention of knowledge. Strategies for adoption, achieving adoption. I want to point it out, like here, three strategies to get better adoption rate for your design system. The first one is evangelism. Let's spread the word of the Lord design system. That's what we should do. And that's what we are doing right now, right? It's exactly promoting and advocating for the design system within the organization. This can include hosting workshops, giving presentation, and engaging with teams to showcase benefits and value of using the design system. By spreading awareness, evangelism helps generate interest and buy-in from stakeholders and encourage adoption. And we all know how hard it is to get buy-in for the design system. Incentives play a crucial role as well in encouraging teams to actively use the design system. By promoting rewards and recognition, such as team-wide acknowledgements, bonuses, or other incentives, organizations can motivate the team to adopt the design system. Incentives help create a positive feedback loop, reinforcing the benefits of using the design system and fostering a culture of adoption and collaboration. Champions and advocate. I think we are here in a room full of champions, and they are influential individuals within the teams who are passionate about the design system and its benefits. By empowering these champions, organizations can leverage their knowledge, expertise, and credibility to drive adoption. Embedded champions act as advocates, promoting guidance, support, and encouragement to their respective teams, helping to overcome resistance and to promote the value of the design system. So communicating the benefits of the design system adoption. It's always important for all the team to know the benefits of the adoption can bring. I know that is repetitive for us because we know, but not everyone knows it. That's why we need to do this propaganda. So teams can work better by leveraging pre-built components, consistent user experience across products and platforms. Design system components are tested and reliable, and reusable components accelerate product development. That's what we should be saying and need to be saying to everyone in the company. What about new hires? We need to remember about them too. We always do onboarding on new hires about everything on the company, and sometimes we leave behind the design system. So we need to welcome new hires to design system team. We need to provide comprehensive training on design system. Maybe pair them with some experienced member for mentorship, foster collaboration and knowledge sharing, obtain feedback to improve the onboarding process. So let's talk a little bit about learning in upskilling. We have here ongoing education. Encourage the team's members to stay up to date on the industry trends and emerging design system practices through continuous learning initiatives. Provide research such as courses, webinars, industry conferences, everything that can support that growth, that professional growth. Knowledge sharing, like foster a culture of knowledge sharing within the team by organizing internal presentation and workshops such as lunch and learn, design and tell, and so many other presentations that we can do within our days on the company. We need to encourage teams to share their expertise and experience related to the design system, enabling a spread of the idea of the best practices. Mentorship programs is also a good idea because we can implement a mentorship program that pairs a junior team member with an experienced designer. This program will facilitate the development of design system skills by providing guidance, support, and opportunities for hands-on learning. It also promotes collaboration and knowledge transfer within the team. So how can we overcome challenges? We have so much challenge to overcome when the subject is design system. I just pointed out a few, but for example, resistant to change. We need to listen to the team's doubts and address them directly. Take the time to understand their concerns and provide clear explanations to alleviate any fear or uncertainties they might have. This open and transparent communication can help build trust and reduce resistance to change. Lack of resource. For that, we need to communicate benefits. Demonstrate how design systems improve workflows, enhance efficiencies. Highlight the positive impact it can have on productivity, consistency, and collaboration. By effectively communicating the benefits of the design system, you can help team members see the value and gain their buy-in. Break down silos. Encourage open communication and knowledge sharing across teams. This can be achieved through regular meetings, cross-functional workshops, or social events. Outdated components, this one we need to be really afraid of. Implementing and maintaining a plan and encourage continuous improvement. We always need to deprecate old and outdated components and remember, communicate that. We need to evolve our design system. We need to evolve our library, and we need to communicate every change that we do to the whole team, because if we don't, we're gonna lose this value. Now I'm gonna dig a little bit more about the design system champions. Empower them. So for that, we need to identify these champions and these advocates. So identify design system champions is the first step in empowering them. These champions are teams members who demonstrate a deep understanding of the design system and actively promote its adoption. By recognizing them, their dedication and passion, organizations can create a culture that values and supports the design system. Foster a community. To foster a community of design system champions, organizations should provide a platform for them to connect and collaborate. This can include dedicated communication channels such as Slack channels or some online forum where champions can share their experience, exchange ideas, and support each other. By fostering a sense of community, that's exactly what we have here, is the organizations can strengthen the influence and impact of the design system advocates. Again, about training. To empower design system champions, organizations should provide them with comprehensive training resources. This can include workshop, webinar, and access to documentation and tutorials that only the design system team has. By equipping them with in-depth knowledge and upskilling opportunities, organizations ensures that they have the expertise and effectively advocate for the design system and address any change they might arise. Organize meetups, again, like this one. Organize regular meetups or gathering for design system champions can create opportunities for them to share their learning, best practice, and success stories. These meetups can serve as a platform for champions to inspire and motivate others, fostering a culture of continuous improvement and collaboration. By facilitating knowledge exchange and networking, organization can further strengthen the community of the design system champions. So let's talk a little bit about the need of evolving that the design system has that also impact directly to the adoption. So design system must evolve to meet ever-changing needs of the users and of the technology as well. Regularly review and update the design system to ensure its relevance and effectiveness. Incorporate user feedback and user data to identify areas to improvement. And again, communicate that. So we need to stay up, we need to know everything that is going on with our users through testing and feedback, and we need to know everything that is happening in the tech part. Maybe what's happening with Figma, maybe what's happening in the code, things that are new need to be changed every time so the design system can evolve. For us to maintain our design system relevant, we need to practically communicate design system updates to keep stakeholders informed about the latest changes and improvements. Regularly share updates through newsletter, release notes, or dedicated communication channel to ensure that everyone is aware of the design system evolution. We heard a lot about how design system keep designers inside a box, and it's something that aprisionate their creativity, and that's how we can kill this idea. If we evolve our design system based on our user needs, it's going to be easier for us. So gather user feedback to understand evolving needs and pain points. Conduct user surveys, interviews, usability tests to collect valuable insights. It's pretty much treating design system as a product. That is what it is. So by actively listening to your users, you can identify areas for improvement and make adjustments to the design system that address their changing requirements. Adapt the design system to address emerging trends and technologies. Stay up to date with industry developments and design best practices. Continuously assess the design system relevance in the context of new design patterns, technologies, and platforms. Update and enhance the design system to ensure it remains current and aligned with the latest industry standards. I can give you guys an example. Like if you're using a component that it's been built so long ago and doesn't use like variables, you're gonna get frustrated by that, and you're gonna maybe construct your own component. Regularly review and refine the design system to maintain its usefulness. Conduct periodic audits to assess all the effectiveness of the design system components, the guidelines, and documentation. Identify areas that need improvement or refinement and make necessary updates to optimize the system usability and maintain its value to the organization. Again, I'm going to talk about this is communicating the updates, because we need to keep the team informed about the latest design system updates. It's crucial for maintaining adoption and ensuring everyone is the same pace. We need to use clear, concise communication channels to share changes, new features, and improvements. I know I'm like clicking on this subject, but it's really important for us. Every little change that we made, we need to communicate for everyone. So wrapping it up, I want to talk about how can we scale a design system across organization. So scaling a design system across an organization requires a comprehensive strategy that address various challenges and involve multiple stakeholders. So we need to identify the advocates, identify influential advocates who can promote the design system and encourage its adoptions. These advocates can help build awareness, provide training and support, and create a culture of design system usage. We need to establish governance. It's another subject that not everyone is a big fan of it, but it's so important. We need to define clear rules and process and decision-making structure for the design system. We need to establish guidelines for the design system contribution, maintenance, and evolution. This governance structure can help ensure consistency, quality, and scalability of the design system. We need to expand training, offer comprehensive training programs for all teams and all levels. Provide self-paced training modules, instructor-led workshops, and on-demand resources, like trying to get it all. Offer training in various formats and language to accommodate diverse learning needs. Integrate workflows. We need to integrate we need to integrate the design system into our existing process and tools to ensure that it's easily accessible and seamless, integrated into our daily workflows. So use plugins, templates, or libraries to simplify design system usage and reduce the friction. Drive adoption. The whole point of this talk is incentivize and recognize teams for leveraging the design system. Offer rewards, recognition, and career growth opportunity for those that contribute to the design system. Use gamification, challenge, and leaderboards to promote design system usage and adoption. And last but not least, let's measure impact. Track adoption metrics and continuously improve the design system. Use analytics, feedback, and performance indicators to assess the design system impact on productivity, quality, and user satisfaction. Continuously improve the design system based on user feedback and emerging trends. So that was my talk about this. I hope this knowledge sharing that I did right now and each speaker will help us keep spreading the word and talking more and more and help each other. I think the best thing about this community is that we are here to learn and we are here to help each one of us. And that's not that common on the other community of designers. So thank you very much, everyone.
Fostering adoption, thank you so much. If you have questions regarding some of the stuff that Manuela mentioned, how do we do the training? How do we get people on board? I've actually looked at the slide and I'm very excited that we already have a whole bunch of questions. Do not let that stop you. Keep going, ask more questions, and please mention that they are for Manuela as well. So thank you so much. A great talk. We're going to move on to the next one. We're going to look at getting started with iOS accessibility. So it would be unfair if I didn't give a little fun fact about Ilia as well. And I have to say, this is I'm going to tell you what happens when you read half of it and then you read the rest. So my irrational fear is glasses placed on the edge of a table. I can't resist moving them closer to the center. And I was like, well, I better not leave my spectacles here then. And then he said, oh, don't mind me if I do that at the bar. And I realized it was not that type of glasses. But we don't have that type of glasses here, Ilia. Don't worry. It's only spectacles. We did have someone here who managed to leave a beer stain just during the tech check. I won't be giving any names, but he did introduce one of the sponsors earlier. Just throwing him under a bus. So without further ado, I want to welcome Ilia onto the stage. Please, again, seamless transitions.
Hello, everyone. It's not loud, right? So, hi, everyone. My name is Ilia, and getting started with iOS accessibility. So, a bit intro about me. I'm working in Just Eat as senior iOS engineer and design system team. So yeah, I'm an engineer on design system meetup. It's fine. I'm working as iOS engineer for 7 years, and I really miss slide to unlock. So if you were told, so that was a cool feature. I was co-organizing one of the largest iOS community back in the days. So it was that I had good times. Anyways, so you can find me anywhere by handle Ilia Chikmarev. Anyways, what this talk will be about, first of all, why iOS and mobile in general need specific attention in terms of accessibility, because I think it's quite different from web or any other platform. Also, I will try to introduce the start and beginning of platform features where you can put your focus to start with accessibility as a designer, as design system team. And last but not least, about web processes. I can hear slight echo. Is fine for you guys? Yeah, okay, sorry. Last but not least, about processes, how it can be done, different on design to engineering level transition, what can be improved, what technologies or existing instruments you can use. So anyways, let's begin. So the first one, just quick intro. We have great tool on web content accessibility guidelines. It's super useful. I really like sometimes to refer to it even on mobile. But one problem with web content accessibility guidelines, but it's written for web. And if most of the cases are applicable for mobile, not all of them. Unfortunately, mobile behaves differently. We have different design systems. We have different platform usage. The device itself can be used differently rather than desktop device. So anyways, it needs special attention, and web content accessibility guidelines not applicable at all. Next one, again, compare with web. Usually sites have accessibility version. You can see this high contrast themes, which can be enabled only by one button. Or for example, you have a specific separate version of site with accessibility features enabled. Unfortunately, again, it's not applicable for mobile. We need to create original version, and after that we need to implement the accessibility features. Keep in mind that the original version should exist, and we can create separate app, for example, only for accessibility. But interesting challenge to keep both usual interface and unusual interface for accessibility, again, requires special attention. And last one here is platform support. Fortunately for us, Apple introduced a lot of features in terms of accessibility. We can support them as iOS engineers, and also we can design anything for mobile platforms to support that. So let's start with some interesting platform features what you can utilize as design system. I divided the features itself at 3 levels. For example, it's you only starting with iOS accessibility at mobile. The slides will be marked with this blue color. It's for more beginner level. If you already had down on something about iOS accessibility, already designed a couple of screens, it will be marked with medium level. And if you knew everything, I have some advanced slides, so maybe you can learn something new. So let's begin with VoiceOver. One of the feature, it can be called screen reader or whatever. So VoiceOver, from user perspective, the blind people can use the device a bit differently than usual. For one, device transforms into the tappable panel when you can touch interface, and interface will announce what's happening on your screen. You can also navigate and interact with interface by navigating through slides. So if you are designers, I have an example for you. Try to explain for you developers what's happening on your screen as it was via phone call. So it's pretty useful and pretty common to use it. So the beginner stuff here is to how to turn it on and also how to turn it off. Because raise your hands up if you have iPhone. So yeah, so for you it will be useful. So if you turn it on, the device will behave differently. And for me at first, like it was super confusing how to turn it off. So let's learn how to turn it off first. For example, in setting accessibility shortcut VoiceOver, you can enable VoiceOver to be turned off by triple tapping the side button, and will pop up this small sheet, so you can turn the VoiceOver. Or one more way is to call a Siri and ask Siri to disable VoiceOver. So it's just beginner steps. Next one, let's me explain how it works. So VoiceOver runs on your elements in terms of how we present it on the screen. So by default, it usually works with any mobile design because the system does it automatically, but you still can tweak it. Anyways, let's learn how to navigate across your screen. So for example, VoiceOver will select element with this border. It should be black in usual representation. And if you swipe right, for example, it will navigate to the next element like that. And if you swipe left, it will navigate to previous one. Again, if you will tap on the screen, it will pause or announce element which currently selected, or you can tap the existing element. I will not cover all the gestures what we have in the VoiceOver because it's around 20-ish. Anyways, it's super cool to play around it because it gives you an ability to work with VoiceOver and to try it yourself, as it was for blind user, for example. Anyways, let's go to a more complex example. For example, in Just Eat, we have these cards with product, and again, by default, it should work, but we still can do some tricks to make it more useful for VoiceOver user. For example, we don't usually need for VoiceOver user to announce an image, so we can disable it and skip it completely. The next part, which will be handful to improve, is combine this text together. But if we will use it by default, it will just announce this whole text as one string. So we can do is utilize here two interesting things, which called accessibility label and accessibility value. So it will be announced with different tone of voice and intonations. So that's how the blind user can identify what something have different priority and separate them. And the last step here will be we need somehow to indicate what this element is tappable. So we can use a special thing called traits. So by using traits button, we can identify what is this tappable element and what it can be available to navigate through it. So all this stuff can be represented as mental model, like you can divide it like label, where there will be a name for a restaurant, value, where will be additional information, and action will be button. So when you're designing the screens, you can plan it and implement in your design so the developers can use it for VoiceOver. One more also interesting feature that we can use and implement again is what's happening if for VoiceOver user something is presented on the screen, something is animating, maybe screen changes. For that thing, we have special thing called UI accessibility post. It will announce special sound for user, and user will understand what something is changed. So, for example, when we're showing this bottom sheet in JetUp, we're announcing that sound. And one more thing, which is quite cool, we can change the focus to the first element on bottom sheet. So, for example, for this one, it will be close button. So if user occasionally touch something, he can close it immediately. One more advanced level stuff about VoiceOver, which again, I can't cover everything, but I want to share a bit of knowledge. In Just Eat, we have this menu page where we have a lot of sections. So, for example, if you want to navigate between the deals, pizza, whatever, you need to scroll and the screen will be scrolled to a concrete category. But how it will be used for VoiceOver user, it will be hard. So we can use the special iOS feature called VoiceOver Rotor. It allows us to navigate, to change the way how the VoiceOver navigating in screen. So instead of navigating by elements, as it was in previous examples, we can navigate through search bars, or we can navigate through containers. The only thing you need to do is to do two-finger swipe circlish, so you can navigate by words, by characters, and we can also do is to use custom rotors. So for this example, with sections, we can use custom rotors. If you want to dig into that, I really recommend to watch the DubDub session. Is AOS conferences, and it's called Voice over Efficiency with Customer Orders. Again, you can talk with your developers and use this feature. Next big topic is dynamic type, increased or decreased font. Again, why we need is from user perspective, one of the most popular settings, which I can see and which like I knew, is enlarged font. Most of users trying to increase it. So if a person visually impaired, Apple provided a lot of features for us so we can utilize it. For example, we can disable animation or make the text even bolder. Again, I'm saying that it's super popular. The apt.org did some research. So in their research in Netherlands, I believe, 30% of the users have increased and decreased font. So you need to plan your interface to be scalable and adjustable for different fonts. And again, for developer or design perspective, it's quite hard challenge to make, again, one interface as usual and also make it scalable for increased font size. It's not trivial way, so I will try to share some tips and tricks what we're using here. Again, how to enable it, basic stuff if you don't use the default. So we have setting accessibility, display and text side, and we have a special section called larger text. Also, by dragging slider on top, we can increase it to bigger one, and it can be useful for you, for example, to enable it and test your app. Again, it should work automatically in any iOS app, but what we usually do, we allow developers and designers not to increase some font at some point, because your interface can scale pretty good, but some parts of interface components shouldn't be scaled at all. And why is that? Because next feature that we have is large content view. So if we have this delivery correction toggle as on previous screen, which is selected, we don't allow to scale it because we're using the large content view. So if you're long tapping on that element, it will show a special menu, which is big one, and the user can understand what's happening on that element, and we don't need to scale it. Another one trick which I can recommend is to change orientation for some stack views. So most of the designs are designed that way, but you have some horizontally aligned cards. For example, you have the name of the product and the picture of the product. And if we increase the font size, the text size will be increased and the image will be shifted. So what I advise to do is to change orientation. For example, in that case, the text will be scaled, image goes down, and we can scroll it up and down. So it will fit more content if content size increased. Next topic is about visibility, how we can utilize some things that can be used to help user who having who not good at distinguish colors. For example, that users can use high contrast theme, or we can help them to see more, make contrast more visible. Again, we have a lot of settings from Apple again to support. Two examples what I want to introduce now, because again, it's a lot of settings, and I'll try to explain what we are using in chat. This one is about increasing high contrast, and it's again quite useful to distinguish colors. And the second one is about button shape. I will show it in examples. How we implemented it on tokens level. Yeah, just a bit about tokens. We have standard theme, standard tokens, and it's used across the app. But we also have high contrast theme. And for example, if iOS app understand what high contrast is enabled, we're switching to that tokens, and ways looks different, but adjusted to distinguish colors in the screen. So for example, it's our usual screen for menu. It looks like normally, but if we increase contrast, we have separate colors changed, we have price color changed, overall colors are more bold and more visible. So it's done across the app. The next thing is about the button shapes. So how it's structured again in our case. We have a controls, for example, buttons, and control itself doesn't know anything about token or settings, but token set have specific border token. So if button shapes is enabled and we detect that border tokens is nil or clear, we trying to switch it to alternative one, so make it easier to see. Again, how it looks in actual app. This is our usual app. And if we have we have button shapes enabled, now the bottom button are a background color, so it's again more visible. And the close button have a border color, so the close button again can be separated from background. So it's quite cool to have it and to support such features. And now one, not about visibility in normal way, but how you can help users to fill your app different, how you can help users to make interaction better. So again, by default, from the system, we have haptics. Developers need to implement them. But anyways, we have three default one. One is called success, the second one is warning, and the last one is error. Anyways, what we're doing in Jet, for example, we implementing them to main user flow. So if user want to order something and it's CTA button, he will not miss it what he pressed it. So the haptic will be produced. Again, quite cool for users to improve the feeling of your app and how it feels your interface. Again, last part, what change on process level, advices from myself. Again, use mental model, describe anything like text. Let me show, for example. You can guess which app transcribed here, but anyway, what I did. On the left screen is just the interface itself. On the right one, I tried to populate it from mental model. So I tried to explain what element have action, how it's called, what is consumed, should be adjustable or not, how it's located, and if you guess it right, it's just Apple Music with full album from Red Hot Chili Peppers. Next one is plan together and test in Figma with your developers. So Figma right now, as previous speaker said, have a lot of plugins which can help you to plan your accessible design ahead, even in terms of mobile. We have high contrast plugins which can help you with colors. We have the responsible design, dev mode. I think you know everything of that. So utilize it before actual development so you can help the developers and you can help to create the accessible design on mobile. Last one, we have a lot of automation on developer side. I think a lot of design system designers are super keen to use automation. So here's a couple of things that we can use on iOS. Code itself, it's IDE for code. Now have automatic accessibility test. So you don't need to do anything. You don't need to audit your app. It will be done automatically. So it can highlight a couple of common mistakes, for example, wrong contrast, not using of dynamic type, hit region can be different, so you can see everything on screen. Again, it's automated, you don't need to perform it, audit yourself, the Xcode will be, can done it automatically. Next one, I think, at least in Jet, we are super keen to use the snapshot testing. And what we can be done here is to use accessibility snapshots. So if you already created an accessibility screen and you're sure that it's work perfectly, you can do accessibility snapshots, so in future it shouldn't be changed, or you can just check how the accessibility tree are constructed and how it works with your design. One more variation of that is accessibility text snapshot. Again, on code level, we can structure a tree of elements and highlight like how we using accessibility, do we have accessibility properties or not. So again, super cool to use. Or you can use our solution, for example, again, what we did in Jet and design system. On developer level, for both iOS and Android, we got assigned as engineers to any changes in code if it contained accessibility changes. So that's how we maintain the consistency across accessibility changes in iOS app. So it's all from me. So again, message me and if you have any questions. This is QR code with all materials what I used to prepare a speech. So you can scan it and use it. We have dozens of settings. I covered, I think, only 5% of all we have on mobile platforms. So feel free to use it and explore it. Apple have great documentation. Not great, but yeah, it's good documentation. Yeah, collaborate between engineering and design is crucial here because it's what we do in JET, collaborate between, share our knowledge. For example, I'm doing this talk to do it. And don't forget about Android because we have the same features as iOS. Maybe we call different. Screen reader, who called it screen reader? Anyways, you can share some design, you can share some approach here, so you can support two platforms. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for listening.
We are going to crack on. I thought you were about to raise your hand there. It would have been fine, don't worry. So for our next speakers, as I promised before, introducing WCAG 2.2 guidance to the gov.uk design system. I should have spoken to you guys about the title. It's a challenge for me. Before we get Calvin and Charlotte on, I obviously need to give some fun facts about them as well. So Charlotte lives in Wales, and apparently she's been known to spontaneously take on a Welsh accent, especially when under pressure. So let's see how this one works out. And about Calvin, so last year, Calvin helped host a digital delegation from Japanese government on very short notice, and he used Japanese to learn on Duolingo. I think this talk could become very interesting. Who knows what will happen? But I think that's it. Without further ado, let's welcome Calvin and Charlotte to tell us about this very long title.
Louis, I apologize for the long title. It's a good thing that Ilia already introduced what WCAG stands for, because otherwise it'd be even longer. But thanks, everyone. I'm Kelvin. This is Charlotte. And Charlotte's an interaction designer, and I'm a content designer. Is the sound okay? Okay. Sounds very tinny up here. So we're here to talk about a recent piece of work we did to introduce accessibility guidance into the design system. So this is a talk about how we did it and what we learned along the way. So if you're reading this title in your head, read it as introducing WCAG 2.2 guidance into design system, rather than introducing WCAG 2.2 guidance. But let's go. First, a little bit about where we work. Charlotte and I work in the Government Digital Service, or GDS, and it's part of government. Even though we don't work in Whitehall, GDS is a central part of government. It has a central role. It's a unit of the Cabinet Office, and that's a ministerial department that supports the Prime Minister and ensures the effective running of government. GDS's mission is to design and protect the user experience of government. And we do this in three parts. One is maintaining a clear, easy to navigate, and welcoming front door to government. The second is building common platforms to help departments and make better digital services, such as a design system. And number three is using our unique position at the center of government to connect the dots and provide users with a seamless experience online. The most visible part of this is the gov.uk website and how it presents itself as one website and the gov.uk website. Of course, it's not that simple. It's not just one website, but it makes it simple for everyone to interact with government. So we're going to dig a little bit more into that. But first, the slide of big, impressive numbers. GovUK is an essential part of living, working, and studying in the UK. 100% of the UK population have heard of us. I don't know exactly where we got that number, but these were the slides I was given. And of course, this makes us one of the most famous digital services websites in the UK. Infamy is not the same as trust. It's not always a good thing, but we do know that 76% of people asked trust that information on GovUK is accurate and reliable. It's a large site. It's got 700,000 plus pages, 10.8 million weekly visitors. And for those of you keeping track on mobile adoption, 71% of our visits come from mobile. And so while gov.uk looks like a single thing to the user, the experience is actually shared across many departments across government. So GDS, where we are in charge of the infrastructure and tools to publish content. And we also manage the most viewed content on Gov.uk. So anything you kind of access directly from the Gov.uk homepage, a few levels down. And this is content that's the most viewed, such as how to apply for a UK passport. Individual government departments manage all remaining content. And they also build the services that users need to transact with them. So let me just finish the slide here. Build a digital service that citizens need to interact with them. And some of this, so if you imagine the content to apply for a passport, it'd be the government department that works on the service to apply for a passport. Now, new services, even though they're created by individual departments, need to meet certain standards. So new services are assured against the government service standard and technology code of practice, and they don't go live until they meet those standards. On the flip side of that, in a carrot and stick kind of approach, we also provide the guidance and resources to continuously support service teams. Which finally brings us to our humble GovUK design system. The design system contains the styles, components, and patterns team need to make services that look and behave like gov.uk. Everything in the design system is based on user research and comes with guidance and coded examples. We're a contribution-based design system, so we rely a lot on some of those design system champions that we spoke about a little bit earlier. So teams can benefit from the research and experience from other government teams. Now, some of you probably know that measuring success of a design system is always tricky. But to show how well a design system is, we do know that it's used by over 1,000 services. There have been over 8 million downloads of gov.uk front end, which is our code base. And since launch, we estimate that we've saved the UK government about £38 million.
It's me. Right, so that now brings us to our most recent work. And Kevin's already given you the joke about WCAG, so I won't go there. But WCAG 2.2 guidance is the latest version of the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. That's that acronym again. That all public sector organisations are legally obligated to meet. And to help service teams get ready, we've made updates across the entire design system. This is new. Woohoo! We took a new approach for this, and it has resulted in a lot of new content. We've written over 70 pieces of guidance, which eventually have published to about 40 new pieces of guidance, and these are all relating to WCAG 2.2. Now for my disclaimer. Our work to make the GovUK design system meet public sector accessibility regulations is a continuous and iterative process. So what we're saying is that all this could be considered an experiment. That's because so far we've tended to give accessibility recommendations as part of general guidance without specifically calling it out. Accessibility is a central part of the 10 government design principles, which you can see on the slide right now in poster form, around meeting user needs and providing a good service. Everything we design and build must be accessible to everyone, regardless of whether or not they have impairments in vision, hearing, speech, motor, or cognition. And this also aligns with the principles that WCAG set out. For a user to successfully complete a transaction, whether that is completing a form or just getting information, 4 things need to be in place. If any one of these things fails, the transaction fails. So we'll start with P. That's perceive, being able to receive information through one or more of the senses of sight, hearing, and touch. Touch in the case of braille displays. O for operate, have a means available to complete any action needed from opening a web page, acting on a link, operating a button, filling in a form, control, or operating a media player. U for understand, the content, instructions, navigation all need to be understood. Complex language, jargon are barriers. It's actually not B, it's R, isn't it? But be robust. Services must work on the combination of operating system, browser, and assistive technologies used, and not just the latest versions of these. So WCAG 2.2 introduces a new set of criteria, which in some cases might be new concepts for service teams to consider. Right, I like this. This is our before and after screenshot. Can you spot the difference? Woohoo! Anyone? No. This is an example component page. In this case, it's the cookie banner component that I've taken. I'm looking first at the design system navigation bar, which is the grey bar underneath the black bar. You'll see an extra section called accessibility. We also have a WCAG 2.2 summary, which is the thing with the blue line on the right-hand side. For highlighted on the page to highlight places within the guidance that there are additional pieces of information on WCAG 2.2 criteria. So yeah, this is the part that I haven't practiced. So we're going to see how this one goes. So it's a demo. So this is the WCAG Design System website. We now have landed on the accessibility section. So the user journey in mind here is for an existing user who's quite familiar with the design system. So one of those departments that Kevin was talking about. And they're looking at how they can improve their service and update it to WCAG 2.2. So by creating this section, we've given sort of a home for all of our accessibility information. So you can see on the left-hand side, we also have our accessibility strategy within this section. But I'm going to click through to the changes to the design system to meet WCAG 2.2. We love catchy titles, don't we? And here you have a bit of information about what you need to do to update your service. And then we go through a list of components and patterns that are affected by the new WCAG 2.2 criteria. And I'm just going to click one of these things. So I've landed on the phase banner component. And as you can see, we have one WCAG 2.2 piece of guidance within there. And I might just quickly skim the page to show you something that changes. But if you go down, you'll see this bit of content there. If you click a link, it will actually highlight. So the reason we've done this is because folks within departments like to share links about certain pieces of guidance. So we can take them straight to the point of contact and we're highlighting it to them. So I think that's it for my demo. So I'll go back to my slides. And over to Cal.
So a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of this work, the challenge, and why did we do this? Using a design system does not immediately make a service accessible. So no matter how hard we try, we can create accessible styles and components and patterns, but they can easily be implemented in inaccessible ways. And that's one of the reasons why traditionally on the design system, we've taken a more integrated, wrapped in kind of approach, rather than trying to think of it as like a tick box list approach to accessibility. So teams need to do their own research, design, development, and testing work to make sure services are accessible. So we want to support services on that and basically help them make good accessibility decisions for their users. As a bit of a context, we're one team amongst many teams and organizations working on accessibility in government. So that means that anything we do on the design system, any guidance we add, and anything we publish needs to work alongside existing resources that other teams have laid out. And this includes WCAG's own resources and content. And I'm not sure how many of you have gone through like the guidelines, but they can be difficult to understand. They're written to be comprehensive and tech agnostic. And for that reason, a lot of times it reads like complicated documentation. So whatever we did, we wanted to avoid reinterpreting or duplicating anything that they've said. And this meant some of our content, while trying to make it as clear and simple as possible, needed to match some of that difficult content. We had to find a way to do this because teams told us, well, they basically told us they expected us to in our surveys and user research. Teams tell us that they have confidence in the accessibility of components, patterns, and styles in the design system. So that's our challenge, no pressure.
So now to how we got there. We quickly realized that it was difficult to share an idea on a solution. So this is where the design sprint method came in. It allowed the team to rapidly test assumptions and big ideas, learn about and be involved in the design process, unite our understanding of the problem. Usually design sprints make the use of a full working week, asking participants to down tools from other work to be more effective. However, in our case, it made the most sense to do with about 7-ish people, 3 days intensive. The concept of a design sprint has already been used in our organization, and designers had worked on a format that we could adapt using the deck that you see on screen now called Facilitating Design Sprints deck. And a design sprint, when broken down into days, usually looks like this. So day 1, understand the problem. Day 2, sketch and decide. Day 3, prototype. Day 4, test. Day 5, analyze. But this is what our 3 days look like. And here's how we made that work in our co-located team, providing a mixture of in-person / hybrid and remote-friendly ways to engage. And this is where we had to be clever with our tooling. In the room, these sketches, which you can see on the slide, were tacked to the wall. We put copies of these online and kept all of our discussions within digital space. So as you can see, the comments below each of these sketches, those were fed in from the room and from folks online. So from the rapid sketching exercises, we were able to quickly form a sense of a user journey for an existing user looking at our design system for WCAG 2.2 related content and guidance. It was a quick way to validate the good ideas. And so you might have thought that we left out day 4 and 5, but sorry, we didn't. We expanded and ran these over the following months, which allowed us to reflect, test hypotheses, iterate and review. It also helped us to recruit people to test with and share some of the testing and analyzing with the wider design system team. So, things we learned from that design sprint. So, the design sprint format that we copied from a bit had a no devices rule. And we used that and that template was created when our teams weren't split across locations and before COVID even happened. So the rule of no devices when running it for remote participants didn't really make sense. So I think that I would like to rephrase that to no distractions. So this is, again, one of our talents, and this will be me tonight. And thankfully, it's not me right now, but everyone was everywhere. We were at the mercy of the trains. I commute in from Mid-Wales, which I think you all learned about, and delays meant that I was kicking off the workshop from a train. And the design sprint was a new way of working for our team. So it wasn't new within our organization, but it was for our team. And usually, our work is very well structured and tested. We wanted to get a bit messy so we could quickly assess ideas and validate the good ones. We could have done more to get folks familiar with the sprint format in advance. That's what we found out. We ran an async retro, which is what you can see on the board here in Padlet. It helped us learn for the next time. And over to you, Kevin.
Okay, and this is where I've tricked you all into a content design talk. So this is going to be fun. So assessing, content designing, and writing all these 40 pieces of guidance was a challenge. Here's how we did it. And so this starts with this spreadsheet. This was done by our accessibility specialist who assessed every component and pattern in our design system to try to figure out how they were affected by the WCAG 2.2 criteria. Most importantly, he came up with ratings for applicability and risk level. And from this, he was able to write a set of content briefs for me to work from. So basically saying what was affected and what we could do about it. From there, we paired together to write messages to show how service teams could avoid each issue. At first, we worked on every possible edit individually, but it quickly became clear that this was too unwieldy. It was too difficult to write in a quick manner, and it was too difficult to keep our messages consistent. Because once we'd write something somewhere else, we realized we talked about it in another piece, and then we'd end up working across a lot of different pieces. It got very confusing. So instead, I came onto the idea of a structured content inspired approach. So in short, this is the idea that we could write content once and reuse it as many different places as possible. So we looked for ways that we could go on all those lines in the spreadsheet and identify common issues, group them together, and start assigning attributes to them. And these attributes let us come up with some common solutions and build messages that we could reuse where relevant. So here's the template we decided on for all our WCAG 2.2 messages based on the attributes that we identified. Each messages would start with when an issue might happen and then go into what to do about it. We also considered how likely an issue is to happen, and that kind of controls kind of like how strong the messaging needed to be. And so in theory, we could write text snippets from each attribute and then join them up together, concatenating them into a paragraph. So you can see how some of this work looks like on this worksheet, which we used as a copy deck. This is our work where we decided attributes, grouped them together, and started writing messages for each, basically seeing whether like they actually made sense once you started joining them up into paragraphs. So here's an example of a message that we gave on our backlink component, where we're basically saying if a user decides to go to a previous task, make sure information they've already entered is pre-populated, and then making sure that we're not superseding any more important advice, instructing them to not pre-populate if the information is no longer valid, or when pre-populating would be a major safety or security concern. And so by doing that, we were able to write a lot of consistent advice across different components and patterns. And this kept all our advice consistent, so we weren't contradicting each other, but also relevant in each instance that we were putting on this, this accessibility advice. So things we learned. One is be ready to do a lot of detective work, especially if you have a larger design system such as ours, because this was a huge task for us, and we could not have done this without a lot of investigation. The whole team got trained up in being familiar with the new WCAG 2.2 criteria, and we had to do a lot of work spotting issues, connecting the dots to find common issues, and only when we had that overview, we were able to understand how we could solve them. Be ready to revisit previous design decisions and evidence. We often had to expand our guidance on topics we'd only briefly mentioned previously. And this was needed so we could give the needed context to go deep down into WCAG 2.2 message. Now, on the design system team, we usually capture decisions on backlog discussions on GitHub, or communicate them directly to users like through emails, which helped a lot. But a design history with evidence on hand would have made that a lot easier for us and go a lot faster. Be comfortable talking about bad implementations and the things you don't want to see happen. As a content designer, I'm always trying to keep messages absolutely clear. So ideally, I'd like a component or like a pattern page to simply say what to do, what not to do, focus on the good implementations. But this work meant, because we were warning about things not to do, we had to go into excruciating detail about bad implementations. We spent a lot of space on it. And even though like this took up a lot of space on our pages, I had to keep in mind that we were giving useful information, and that this was okay, even though if the page was not as clear or even like as forceful as I would have liked it to be. Which brings me to my last point, that you have to trust teams to make the right decisions for their users. Sometimes it's not about getting teams to follow your guidance precisely and telling them what to do, but providing them with good information. Teams will use your design system in their own way, that whatever's best for them. And you need to trust that they'll make the right decisions for the users. So that is our talk. Thanks for listening. As a shameless plug, if you're interested in following more of the work on the gov.uk design system, we do have a website and we have a community section, and we do lots of things, including monthly community chats, workshops, co-design collaborations, and we also host an event of our own called Design System Day. If you want to just check out our page, it'll show you all the different ways you can get involved with us.
Thank you so much for that great talk. I would definitely say that you should check out the community. We all about plugging out the community as well. Is design system is for everyone. So absolutely. So if you have questions, please, this is your chance. We are going to have a Q&A. And I give you this one for anyone who wants to have is brave enough to ask a question live. Here we go. Okay. All right. Oh gosh, already. Excellent. Do you know what? Go for it.
Yeah. Let's see, some nut job is still using iPhone 5C. Is supporting all the devices part of accessibility?
I think it's a question for me. Kind of. The problem is the Apple itself downgraded the whole system and all iOS version. So that means, for example, with 5C, unfortunately, even by Apple not supported. So they do not update the iOS version. And unfortunately, we can support all the iOS version because Apple do not update it. But yes, I think your question is good because, yes, supporting all the iOS versions is part of accessibility because it's help users. Some of the users not want to update their phones. So yeah, it end up.
Okay, and sorry. So, what's your personal opinion? Because I see some websites like Go.uk, BBC will still support like World Safari. Some companies like Google will try to support as long as possible, and some companies will say, "This is not the newest iOS. Goodbye."
So on that, how far back does gov.uk support? Do you have any idea about that, or am I putting both of you under pressure now?
You're definitely putting us under pressure. If you look in the service manual, you will see the things that we support, but we go above and beyond the commitments that actually are laid out in the service manual.
We have an audience contribution as well for this information.
Oh,
Oh, fantastic.
Hello, I'm not going to get up. I'm a senior front-end developer for the WCAG design system. The answer is all of them asterisks. So as of 5.0, one of our most recent major versions, we've dropped support for IE 11 and some older versions of like Chrome, Firefox, all that, because the usage stats on GovUK were so low that it's not worth it anymore to support them versus the benefits from newer tech.
Great. I'm loving this audience participation. I can see this being a continuous conversation in the pub later for sure. You know now who to speak to. Thank you for that. I'm going to pick a question here from the slide, but in the meantime, if anyone else have a live question, put your hand up. So this one might be for you as well, Ilia. Can you share your experience on how Just Eat prioritize accessibility and accessibility improvements in the product lifecycle?
Okay, great question. Thanks now, we have Jerry, actually our new accessibility lead. I think, yeah, that's good thing. And also we as design system trying to not to work on design system, but also work on accessibility. I speak only from mobile side. We have special audit, which is happening usually once in a year. We're trying to audit what's happening in app right now. And also we're trying to implement in design system accessibility as basement. And also as I presented in my presentation, we usually try to observe what's happening from other teams. So yeah, it's heavily implemented on our life cycle, I would say.
Excellent, thank you. I'm going to jump back and forth between questions and topics, so don't be afraid. Yes, oh, we have another audience question. Let's go for it. We got two. Brilliant. Oh, three. Wow. This, I hope you're in for a long night, everyone. Go for it.
Yeah, to the first speaker on design systems, adopting design systems, I wanted to hear your experience with regards adopting design systems internally within companies and also open source design systems that's used by millions of developers.
Can he repeat? I lost the beginning. I'm sorry.
So my question had to do with the challenges with regards adopting design systems internally within companies, that's just for the teams within the company, and also open source design systems like you have Material UI and the rest of them.
Yeah. It's the same what I said in my talk. I think if we want to adoption rate go higher, we need to do a lot of steps. One important one is training and letting everyone knows that we have a design system, how it works, have like weekly or monthly meetings about new outcomes from the design system, show everyone the benefits of using the design system. So always communicating everything possible, so other people, we can gather other people to use the design system.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. Let's go straight over to the next live question. Go for it.
Hi, it's for Manuela. What's like Madonna's neighbor?
You know what? I'm joking. I think that's a talk in itself. I'm hoping you come back for that one.
So when there's you need to change something in the established design system, I don't know, like a component that's updated, outdated, or any kind of small change or irrelevant change, for example, what's the process? Do you need to raise a ticket as someone has approved? Could you go through the process, please?
So it's always good to remember that the design system is a living product that will be evolving and will be changing all the time. So for that, it's good to have, as I said, monthly meetings to show up what have been done in this time, what are the deprecated components, what are the new components, what is new about these new components, these new properties, and things like that. So always communicating through meetings or Slack channel, own newsletters, anything that can cross all the company.
But someone needs to approve. They need to
this is when we're talking about like large and enterprises, we have like the design system team, and these are the people that will like schedule and be part of this, like being the front of this. So when we have like smaller teams, it's also good to have at least one person that will be like the guard of the design system.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say it depends kind of on your team size and what kind of governance system you have set up. Because it can vary, and it does vary a lot from smaller teams to larger teams. Again, another great topic to continue at the pub. You know this is going to be my standard on everything now. You get in the picture. So I had a question for you guys, actually. So you mentioned that 7 people participated in the design sprint. How did you pick your magnificent 7th, and what did you base that on?
I'm going to take that back. Magnificent 7. They sure are. How do we pick them? So we wanted folks that had different skills and expertise. So we had accessibility specialists, because obviously they're most involved with the accessibility work. Content designer, Kevin. We had a tech writer. We had Owen, who you've just heard, our developer. And we had another interaction designer as well. So it was sort of like a blended group of skills, so that when we had to like cross roles, which you do in a design sprint, we were all sort of like, there was someone there to, I guess, spearhead their role. Yeah.
And also we wanted like a mix of people that whatever we decided to do, we could actually do it. That everyone on the team could make it happen. Like that was really important as well.
Excellent, thank you. We have a lot of questions. Did we have another? Oh wow, there's we have someone over here.
Hi there. My question's for Calvin and Charlotte. I was just curious to know about what did you find to be the most effective thing that you came up with in your design sprint? Like, what would you say like you're most proud of? Because I think definitely like the implementation of having like a reusable structure was when you came across that accessibility issues. I think that definitely stuck out to me, but I wanted to hear your thoughts.
Should I go first?
I think the most valuable thing was kind of was confidence, to be honest. Like, it was a lot of content, and we wanted to make sure that whatever we put out was useful and it was worth kind of like all the effort to publishing it in, and it didn't get in the way of like other user journeys for other people that that might be coming first onto design system, because it's quite a big thing where we really want to make some noise about WCAG 2.2, but anyone new coming in would come onto a page and go, whoa, what is this? And to make sure that they like understood that as well. And it's really like planning the entire journey for both sets of users.
I think the format supports this, but there was no one single thing, because the thing that we built was taking bits of each idea that came up, but it was giving it that space where, you know, you're all having ideas individually, but you're never getting together in the same place and discussing them and working to what you can achieve. Because I think that was what was blocking us initially, was like, we all had ideas of what this thing could be. We couldn't really talk or articulate it in like a 1 hour meeting, but together in a room, drawing and like designing, like we could actually all feed in, and it came out to like one thing.
Thank you. Before we go in audience questions, we're just gonna take one here from the Slido. So I guess this is for you, Ilia, but it's technically for everyone. How do you test for accessibility? So do you have users with accessibility needs in the research pool, or do you have specific success metrics targeted for accessibility? I'm going to come back to you on that one, so think about that one for a little bit.
Yes, we have metrics, so we're observing what's happening with accessibility users in terms of order rate and so on. Also, what I presented also included in our pipeline in terms of development. And we usually do audits manually also to check how it works. So we do try everything to keep it in place.
Excellent, thank you.
So I guess we use a range of things to do our accessibility testing. We have like inbuilt testing that we have within our within our pull requests and things like that, the test for it. We also take things to get audited by we use a place called the Digital Accessibility Centre, but an accessibility auditor, and we've also run user research sessions with specifically targeted at folks with access needs. So we do a range of different things. And then we also have our community that are doing their own research and their own testing that feeds into what we do.
Thank you. Back to audio. Oh, we got one over here first.
Yes.
He's got a microphone already.
I have a speaking cue. Thank you. This one's for Ilia. Thanks for the talk. Amazing. Really good. My question is kind of similar to the previous one, but more on the business metrics. Do you measure impact of accessibility changes on business metrics? Like, for example, you implemented the high contrast mode. Did it change anything in conversion rate to the order or anything?
Yes. The quick question is yes. We analyze every accessibility metrics and how it influences the order rate and how it increases or decreases conversion. So yeah, we're tracking it right now, and we're also planning improvement on that. Yeah, I think it's question ones.
Okay, can you name the most impactful accessibility feature to implement?
I think it was dynamic font, and because also as I presented, most of the users have it turned it on, so it's kind of logical because most of the users have it turned it on, so it's also influenced the order rate. But again, it depends from project to project, company to company. It works for us, might not work for ours.
Thanks.
Thank you. I'm going to jump back to the slide, and then we're going to come back to the audience. Got to give a shout to everyone. So this is general, I guess a general question, but maybe for you here, Manuela. To what extent is the value in implementing a design system in smaller companies and smaller teams? Is the value in that?
I think we always need to think if it's time to develop a design system when we are in a smaller team. and the value, they are the same. We're gonna have more consistency. We're gonna have less time producing. But we're gonna we're gonna have a lot of time constructing the design system. You're gonna have a lot of effort. So it's about figuring out what you're gonna gain with that and if it's worth it. I'm a design system fan and I'm gonna say always worth it, but a lot of companies don't think that way. And we need to understand the company needs.
Yeah, absolutely. I would 100% agree with that. I think there is value in the design system, but I do think you need to ask yourself, do we need one? Are we ready for it? Are we ready for the impact that it's going to have? And is that the business value versus what output is? As designers, we often find ourselves having to tread the business line as well. And if you haven't done that yet, welcome to when that happens to you. Trust me, you will definitely know. Let's go over to an audience question. We have the gentleman at the back, and we know you are here as well. Don't worry. Don't worry. We won't forget it.
Hi, I'm a design system engineer at a dating app called Bumble, and I was curious to know how you measure the adoption of design system. Do you have metrics around adoption? Thank you.
I'll start with you, and then anyone else who wants to chip in.
Yeah, we do a lot of, there's a lot of way for us to do the metric. We have analytics in Figma. We can know what components are being used. We can always talk to the teams to see which teams are using. We also have other softwares out there that help us with analytics, and it's always important for us, not just for adoption rate, but for figuring out what are the components that are most used, what are the components that are being detached, trying to figure out why they are being detached, and trying to evolve the design system in that matter.
Any comments from you on adoption?
Yeah, actually, it's one of my biggest tasks always here, because on mobile it's kind of different, because it's super hard to track how often it feels, like how the mobile structured, how the code structured. So what we think right now, what we usually talk as developers with developers and as designers with designers. Yeah, again, it's an interesting topic to explore from mobile perspective.
Thank you. Do you guys measure adoption?
I guess in some ways, I guess the community that shows up and contributes back is like a measure that people are using it and get value from it. And the specific number, really, really hard to define. We had on our slide like some rough things of how we can do it, like NPM downloads, etc. But it's, I guess we just get the sense from our community that folks are using it, and especially when they come to you and ask like how we're building. Like NHS comes to us and says, we want to use this approach. Like, how did you do it? What did you learn? That sort of thing. Like, we have other measures.
Yeah, like user research for sure. Like we do, we put a UX survey every year to try to measure like levels of adoption, and hopefully we can infer more numbers from there. But it's really just a set of like keeping in touch with users, and yeah, just to really get a full picture. Like it's really difficult to get like absolute metrics, quantitative, but it's a mix.
Yeah, I would say users, and also if you see interest in contributing, that's also good. It's difficult to define a number, but it's a good indicator that people are in what you're doing. Audience questions, back to the gentleman here at the front.
So much. I was shocked by only on your slides by only 71% of people on mobile. Except of people at work, in offices or at other work, I don't see anybody using desktop devices anymore. I haven't seen a desktop, like computer, like, I don't know, for ages. So my question is, who are the 29% on desktop? Do you know? Is these people at work, or do some people still prefer to use desktop devices? Any use cases? Do you have any statistics on that one? Like I don't see these people, honestly.
Reveal yourself.
I mean, remember what our product is. Our product is government services. So that might be being accessed by someone who's at work, because it might be to set up a business or to pay their tax return or things like that, where they're already in that desktop space. I mean, personally, I use probably about 2 government services regularly, and I'm always using them from a desktop computer. So I'm your 29%. Maybe there's more of me somewhere. Oh God.
Yes, but you're okay. You are like me. You're a coder, so this is your hand. But normal people are different. They don't have the laptop always with them. Yes, yes. I only leave the laptop off when I go to sleep. Yes.
I mean, there might be a thing that our services are easier to use on desktop. Like that's something to be interested about. Like when we're now looking at new components and patterns, we're actually looking at like a key requirement in the scope is to like make them mobile first, because then maybe it's about, them being more able to be used on mobile. But yeah, I don't know who the 29% are, but they exist.
I can add on to that.
I agree with that.
Absolutely. This is sparking conversation. I'm here for it.
There's a meme that says that my age is the age of doing important things on the computer, not on the mobile. So I think that a lot of people prefer to do these important governmental things on a desktop, definitely.
We are coming from the audience on that.
Add on to that conversation. I'm working on a service related to HMRC, and our service is pretty long. On an average, it takes people not less than an hour to complete it. Though we designed a mobile version of our service, but most of the users of our service use it on a desktop device for various purposes. The kind of content that we ask of them, the kind of information that we ask of them, and also the journey time, and also various other scenarios make it so difficult for somebody to use it on a mobile device for such services. In fact, like 71 is something that is an average, but if you look at our own service, it is predominantly desktop and very less mobile.
I mean, this is definitely pub chat, so I'll try and keep it brief. But Steve's also got an answer. But I think that we also have like our services aren't just on digital; they're across digital as well. So you need other things around you to add into that action. So you're not necessarily doing it on a tube, because do you have your passport and your national insurance number and other things like that with you?
Yeah, just on this, like Charlotte started touching on it, but so a range of different devices come up in the analytics. So we've got people using a Nintendo DS, like an Xbox, like PlayStations, because that's all they can afford. That's what people use. And so we have to make decisions to whether to support that or not. So yeah, it's not about mobile or desktop. It's about the full range of digital devices that people have access to, can afford, and have the skills to use.
Don't worry. This is the Q&A session I have been to. So before we go to that, I just want to make a comment on that as well. I just think that, and this is in no way sort of being facetious, I think we just also people in this room working in this space, we need to be a bit careful to make assumptions on other people outside of this space using digital in the way that we use digital. And I think especially when it comes to things such as whether it's healthcare or whether it's government or whether it's tax or anything like that, people are actually quite traditional. And I say this as a UX person, when we do research, people tend to fall back to more traditional ways of doing things. And so as much as I am slightly, potentially also a bit perplexed about that number, but once you start digging into it, it's actually not that strange. Is this a comment on this, or is this another question?
Quick comment and then a question.
Okay, go for it.
So a quick comment first is everyone in this room has got to remember we're the top 3% of the most technically able people in the country, and most people are not. If you use testing with your parents, your grandparents, you'll find out why. Most people in the country actually have tablets and use desktops for doing complex tasks. They do research on their mobiles. End of that. The question I've got is for mid-sized companies, when you're actually looking at trying to bring in accessibility within a business, if your business is trying to transform itself to a design system, it's got a complicated roadmap for technology migration, how and when do you actually get that migration to start actually getting people to listen to you doing accessibility? And if there's kind of a rude awakening, for instance, someone's suing the company, how do you get that buy-in to suddenly get everyone on board behind you? And what are the first steps? And how do you divide that between designers and developers / engineers?
Who wants to start on this slightly very easy question? Anyone? Okay, I can start with giving an attempt. So, are you talking about introducing accessibility? Yeah. So, I would say that that's something you have an opportunity to get your mid-sized company to understand the importance of it from day one. So it's just making sure that it doesn't become an afterthought, especially if you're introducing design system. So when you're introducing a design system, if that's the right path for your company, there are particular, well, let's call it a checklist for lack of a better expression, of things that we need to ensure that we do. And accessibility should be a standard part of that. It isn't something that is, maybe if we have time, it should be a requirement. And so if your company thinks that they're ready for a design system, accessibility comes with it. It's not something that we later, if we have time. That would be my answer, contribution. Any comment?
Continue. I totally agree with Liz. And also what I want to add is to try to implement it from ground zero on both levels for designers and for engineers, so they can speak on one language, and it will be easier for them to proceed with design system development when both designers and engineers understand how valuable is it, how you should support it, what technologies you have, what opportunities you have. Because if at some point doesn't work like that, it will be much harder later.
I totally agree with that. I think sometimes when we think about design system, especially smaller companies, they think about libraries. So we need to get out of this thought and thinking about governance, accessibility, all in the beginning. I think we need to have like a health growth. Definitely, we need to think in the beginning of the initiative.
Yeah, just to reinforce everything here. Like when we created the WCAG 2.2 content, there's one page that tried to explain everything, and we tried to think about teams with different capabilities. And what we came up with was kind of like a step-by-step kind of list, very broad, about like what how to like start being aware about accessibility and what that involves. And some of it on one side is like I always a big supporter of the rule where like accessibility is just good usability, and it should just be part of it. But also to like, if we're going to something as big as like meeting WCAG 2.2, an organization is going to have to devote some training to people to get started on it, start bedding it into processes and thinking about it in teams. And I'd assume like the hard part really is just avoiding thinking about it at the last minute, because that's when it's most painful. That's when I think accessibility gets like a really, really negative like reputation, reputation, but like when people think it's really painful, and it's just so beside the point.
It looks like it's going to be a massive burden rather than part of the process. We got one more.
It's just an advice for the crowd, actually, on the question.
Go for it.
Yeah.
I love the audience participation on the questions.
Yeah, as most of us here are designers, and our main goal is to actually build empathy. So for answering your question, how do you start? Do an empathy exercise. Take your products and bring it back to your stakeholders, asking them to impersonate disabilities. Like if you have a mobile app, ask them to just like pretend their dominant hand is broken, and then let them go through the flow using their non-dominant hand. The same way, if it's like a complicated system where you have like to fill in the form, just ask them to use the screen reader and like try to fill it in. So you will see like people like your stakeholders, they will start struggling, and they will understand why it is important, because these are the things that users are struggling with. So I think this is like one of the easy ways to get a buy-in. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, that's similar to what I did want to answer this question with, which is hire folks with access needs, and you'll soon quickly change your opinion on accessibility. But equally, accessibility is not just about long-term impairment. Like, I've been pregnant. That's a completely different thing from now. I've been on a busy tube where I can't hear anything, so I don't want my audio on. I just want to see video. Like there's so many situations where it's situational, it's temporary, or it's permanent. And there's a great slide, which we haven't put in our deck, about this sort of thing, but that's why it's important.
Yeah, I think I was about to add that as well. Its accessibility isn't always permanent. It can be many different shapes and forms. We have one last very quick question, and then we are going to have to wrap up. And I am really sorry. There's so many great questions, and there are many great questions in the audience. That means that the pub is going to be lit. So one quick question. This is Ilia here. So how hard is the difference between iOS and Android? And I'm bringing this question up because sometimes iOS, Android is a little bit like mobile web, you know, just pulling out. Let's give it up for the Android users.
In terms of accessibility, we actually recently discovered what it's have most of the features in Android which iOS have, but unfortunately, fortunately for me, iOS have more features and more like opportunities to implement some specific stuff. For example, both on unfortunately Android doesn't have that, but basic stuff like screen reader, switch control, dynamic font, all of that having like Android support, which is cool. So you can design for both iOS and Android and keep these accessibility things in mind. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Just going to do a very quick thing here. So there's always a couple of really random, fun questions. And I always have a suspicion of who those fun, random questions are. There are no proofs because they're always on someone anonymous. Two questions here. Oh, actually, this one isn't. He has just stepped up and said, what if we don't want anyone to use our design system? I'll leave that definitely for the pub. Henry, you can bring that up. And then this is a question for Ellis. What makes you different from Deliveroo? Again, might be a question for the pub. So someone had here, what advice do you have for people at the early stages of their design journey? There's a whole bunch of stuff online. Go to communities, get yourself a mentor, be brave in your communities, go up to people who seem to know what they're talking about, ask them questions and chat to them and ask them how they managed to get where they are today. If you're using tools, there are Figma, but there are other tools as well. Just want to say that. But if you all know, someone is shaking. I have a suspicion he may be from one of the tools. But if you are using tools, most tools have fantastic resources. They have blogs, they have training videos, they have lots of online stuff, and lots of it is free as well. If you're working for a company and you need more training, you should be speaking to your line manager and try to get some kind of budget signed off for you to do some training. There are many ways. I'm going to leave it at that for now and then continue the conversation in the pub. Thank you very much to the speakers. I'm going to have to kick you off stage, I'm afraid, because I'm getting ice on the way. I have to wrap this up. So I'm going to go back and wrap up. And I saw Charlotte is halfway on to the station already. She's got a train to go to. So thank you very much to the speakers. Big applause. So we've had a lot of audience participation so far in this Q&A, so I'm hoping that I can rely on you for a little bit more. I'm going to need some numbers shouted out. Sorry? 7? Someone has already said 7. God, this is quicker than I thought. I need another number between 1 and 66. 25. Okay, so let's see. I've lost it. I lost my butt already. 7. Oh, gosh. Basically, this is a raffle. So obviously, can't you tell? This is clearly a raffle. So we had a raffle, and normally we hand out little tickets, but we thought we'd be environmentally friendly and just get participation. So number 7, if your name is Alex Devane and you are still here, you are a raffle winner. Yay! Well done, Alex. Fantastic. Did we hit 25 as well? No. What? 45. Okay. Sorry about that. 45. If you are, let me see, 45. God, this is Fox Rayman.
No way.
You know what? I'm going to have the same reaction. No way. Awesome. Okay. Thank you very much for coming. That's the raffle. So before we go, just going to do a quick thank yous. So first of all, obviously, I want to thank you, everyone, for coming here today. The community wouldn't be what it is without you guys. I want to thank our sponsors, Wildy, for putting this on and continuing to support DSL. I want to thank Just Eat Takeaway for letting us use this space for a second time. We'll see you here in a year again. Just wink, wink, just in case. I want to thank the event team at Wildy. You have seen Christine here. There are other people downstairs, Lauren, and anyone else from Wildy. James, thank you so much. It looks like I'm doing a lot. Clearly, you can see I'm doing nothing. These guys are the ones who do everything, so thank you so much for that. Remember that Wildy is looking for talent. Someone was asking as well in the Slido deck, is anybody hiring? You need to talk to people from Wildy. You need to talk to people from Just Eat. I think that the gov.uk, you guys also had a something about hiring. So this is your chance. Have a chat to those people. Let me see. Thank you for joining us. Catch you in a bit. Literally downstairs. That's it for this time. Oh, wow. It's literally right there. The conductor. You can't use this route. Unfortunately, you have to use the lift. So nobody jumping out of windows. We are not insured for that. So thank you so much. Big round of applause, everyone, and we'll see you next time.